who's going to be speaking today. Now, John is someone that can be both very tasteful, but he can also be gritty and down to earth when he needs to be as well. So I just wanted to throw that in about John. This morning, JohnR will give us a whirlwind overview of his 3 weeks of adventures in Cambodia and Thailand. So please welcome JohnR.
Standing in awe, complete shock at a tree that has completely engulfed part of the temple. Completely engulfed this archway that my friend Jesse is walking through. And you have the dichotomy of an ancient structure that people put countless, thousands and thousands of hours into shaping and creating and putting together as art to be enjoyed, as sculpture to be admired, and as a temple structure to be used in whatever worship that they were doing. Mixed with that, you have the art of nature that is taking it back. These trees are intertwining, finding slight, tiny deviations on the rock, breaking through with their roots and creating cracks and fissures and structures and locking themselves together until you have human-made and nature-made combined. This was the whole trip for me, was seeing the dichotomy between nature and humanity. And I got to see it in a different realm than I ever had before. Growing up, I loved art and I loved seeing how things were portrayed with different ideas from people. This right here is a 150-foot long mural that was all hand-carved with 3-dimensional representations of people and animals and scenes, battle scenes and travels and all of these huge, just monumentous stories that were told in stone and have lasted for over 1,000 years.
I'm sorry, this
is in Cambodia.
Cambodia, okay.
So this is at Angkor Wat in Cambodia.
Okay.
And so there's 2 of 5 complexes that we went to. We went to Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom. And these are outside kind of the major lake in Cambodia. I'm trying to remember the name of this city. Oh, Siem Reap. Thank you. Yeah, outside of Siem Reap. And these amazingly cool structures are still around. They're still thriving. They're doing well. They have some different maintenance and architecture or archaeological rehabilitation happening to them. But you can go and see these murals that, right here, they look like you have about a 1/4 inch of roof. But if you see other carvings that were done in a similar manner that didn't quite have the weathering, they are 4 or 5 inches deep with the carving. So you have these amazing 3D representations that are countlessly above and beyond what was done in Europe at the same time, which we hear about in our modern American history books versus other histories of the world. So I was astounded. I took probably 100 pictures of this mural. This is just one to get a taste for it. But you have the chance to see what people thought was worth seeing. What they thought was worth showing to the future, showing to generations in the future, so that it would last and it would be a testament to what they had done. And I think it's a pretty good taste. This is a close-up. As you can see, a chariot battle scene. You have different individuals down below, hand-to-hand fighting. You have the representation of horses that is fairly accurate. Growing up on a ranch, you are seeing this elaborate detail of the hoof structure, the leg structure, all the way through. And being a contractor and an engineer, I have to admire the artistry that is done with how to represent a wheel. Like, that is beautifully done and still holding up extremely well. This is one example of the Angkor Thom area. Is this giant, different architectural mishmash of structures. This was almost like a maze as you wandered through it. It wasn't grand and elaborate with giant openings. Instead, you were going with pathways that were at 5 feet to 2.5 feet wide. And you're kind of winding your way through this structure that had been stacked up in a completely different manner. Mind blown. We were there at the right time because it wasn't super hot, yet we were still pretty drenched compared to Oregon. And we were seeing all these people explore through these zones. And it's a different type of archaeology. It's a different type of projecting this culture because you're able to actually walk through the structure. You're not just at a distance from it. You're in it. And you're wandering through and seeing what people have created. And I think it was a really beautiful way to experience history. This is one example of the different types of stonework that were done. I'm going to be bouncing around to a whole bunch of different things. It's 3 weeks of me being in intense mode, but the builder and the engineer side of me, you have this lava rock that is pockmarked and fairly light for the size of it, but very sturdy. It holds up well. And on the front of it, you had this limestone that was much easier to carve and shape, that was put on and secured in all these different manners. And this is as an example of one piece, and then you can see a couple holes throughout different sections of how it was attached. But for the most part, these structures had a base built and then a facade put on the front. And so you were able to see kind of an assembly line process. These stones are fairly similar, fairly regular. So you had people that had very specialized on what they were building, and then you have people that were assembling all the pieces that were created afterwards. Very cool structural style, and made for an interesting trip. Shifting gears, we got out of Cambodia and went into Thailand. Flew into Bangkok and then down into the islands. And this is near Koh Phi Phi, is one of the islands. And with it, you get to see beaches and explore it. Now, I want you to be in good taste, so I'm giving you a little taste of Cambodia here, or a taste of Thailand. And these are tamarind candies. Please take one and pass them on. So, you can try these out. If you care not to partake, don't worry about it. But wanted you to be able to get a little taste of it. Thailand and Cambodia are all about elephants. And we went to an elephant sanctuary, and I forgot to throw a picture of that in my slideshow. But we were up in Chiang Mai area of Thailand, and went to one of the world's largest elephant sanctuaries. Their idea is they're taking all of these elephants from the logging industry, tourist industry, and any ones that have had issues in the wild, and they're rehabbing them. So before COVID, this facility had 40 elephants that they were taking care of. Massive undertaking, and it was really cool. During COVID, they added an extra 80 elephants. So they're up to 120 elephants.
Wow.
Some are blind, some have major injuries. One has a broken back with like a mangled leg, and she's still moving around and enjoying her best life. They're doing everything they can to keep these elephants happy and feeling good. And they were awesome. 11 different blind elephants that were being led around with their friends. Elephants' vision is okay, but it's not awesome. But they do so much by sound and smell that they can still get around just fine. So you have a single caretaker for each and every elephant. Nobody's allowed to touch the elephants because they don't want to be doing that. Nobody's riding them. They're just taking care of these elephants and making sure they're good. So on most of the clothing and most of the elements around there, elephants are the main theme. We were able to get some pretty cool stuff, that handmade textiles and people's artistry on display, along with different fashion choices. And I think they were in some pretty good taste. These are called Thai fisherman pants. So you wear these here, you can adjust to your waist size by doing a little wrap, and then there's strings along the back. And as we were wandering around, acquiring different items, we got the chance to wear them. And for me, I'm a big guy. It was kind of hard to find stuff in my size, but I found a few items. And wearing American clothing versus wearing local clothing, you were comfortable, you were breathing in the heat. You were so much better off wearing a local style than you were wearing our normal threads. And so seeing the difference in cultural taste and cultural identity with that really enabled me to open my mind some more. So really appreciated that. So hope you enjoy kind of the different feel and the different texture that can be a part of it. Now, when we got down to the islands, it was a different vibe. You had a mix of kind of a tourist trap with local folks that just want to live their own life, and it's a bit of a back and forth balance. You had certain areas that were just tourists, and then you had certain areas that were just locals, and then you have a really fun intermingling in certain areas. A friend of ours that we went with, Kendra here, in the red, she had been to this area before and had made friends with the local bar owner. or at the time he was a fire dancer. We met up with him again. He owns the bar now and owns half of another bar. And they had a Muay Thai fight night, so a local exhibition of Muay Thai fighters to support the local economy. And we went in and we had a blast seeing a much different version than the tourist central. So we got to see some cool stuff here around the beach. So that's my fiance Heather and Jesse and Kendra. It was their honeymoon. And we had been thinking of going on a trip, and they got married this summer. And they're like, oh yeah, we're thinking of going to Thailand. You guys want to go with us? And we're like, I'm not sure, it's your honeymoon. They're like, no, we've traveled with you before, you're amazing. Let's go have an adventure. And so we did. And 3 weeks with these awesome people, and we got along great. So I highly encourage you, if you are going on a vacation with people, get a feel for who they are. What are their tastes? Are they going to eat the cheapest possible thing and they don't care about the flavor? When you're a foodie, I know Chuck, you're a foodie like me, we want to taste everything. We want to sample whatever we can. Are they going to be going adventurous and they're going to be rock climbing and scuba diving and going out and doing stuff, and that's not your style? You might not be a good match, or you can do your own things at different times. But having good travel companions, I think, is essential. And we were lucky enough to have us. Now, when you're traveling, you will run into just life, we'll put it that way. But situation normal, all fouled up, the snafus, that tends to happen. And realizing where people's strengths and weaknesses are, I think is very important when you're in an environment with people that you're relying on and you're traveling with. Right when we were about to head out, we were leaving at 6 a.m. from Eugene's airport. Now, when you leave out of Eugene at 6 a.m., you need to get there by 4:30 or 5, because it's a tiny airport, and that's when all the planes leave. So we were getting ready, and I checked my phone one last time, like 9:30 before we were going to bed, and it said, flight canceled, no crew. This is the first leg of this extremely big trip. Heather, my partner, starts freaking out a little bit, and she's being a little bit snippy to the customer service rep on the phone, who it's not her fault. She's trying to solve the problem for us. And I have the opportunity to get Jesse and Kendra on speakerphone with the other phone, and they're hearing this, and I'm like, I got this, you should go. I got this, you should go. After 3 iterations, she's like, I'm leaving the room. I'm like, thank you very much. So she takes off. We were able to figure out a way to do it, and we traveled up to Portland, and we were able to catch a flight from Portland. We made it down 10 minutes after our other flight was going to arrive, and we were able to hop on a plane, and we made it.
Wow.
So it was a little bit stressful. Had to throw out extra $800 for 4 tickets to get there, but we made it work. Figuring out how people will adapt in stressful situations is crucial. Jesse is a very fly by the seat of his pants, wing it type guy. You make a decision, he's like, cool, I'm in. Smooth as silk, cool as a cucumber, musician, and I think he just loves to feel the vibe of life, feel how people are, and you can sense a mood, sense a crowd, sense an audience, and you can adapt to it. Kendra is a nurse along with Heather, my partner, and they are really good at intense situations where they have to save lives, and they're fully on and engaged. But if you take them out of that professional setting where they need to just adapt and relax about it, and they don't have that authority of being the nurse that is keeping you alive, they both struggle a little bit. They both get a little worked up. And so to adapt to that, they planned the trip. We had every single hotel stay figured out. We had every single ferry ride or airplane flight, we bounced around quite a bit, all worked out in advance. And that's great. I love planning ahead like that. But through Toastmasters and through other life experience, I can also adapt on the fly. And so I was the fixer of the group. So when stuff went weird, they just looked at me and I'm like, got it, and we solved it. And so having complementary skill sets, figuring out how you can work together as a group, that was really crucial for this trip. And the idea of not having conflict along the way. We had like 3 different times where people were like, hey, we got in, we were getting ready to go to Bangkok. We hopped off a ferry. It was 95 degrees with 100% humidity and just sun index, UV index of 11. Heather does not regulate temperature well. And as you can see, we're both really pale. Yeah. If we're not slathered in sunscreen, we have 2 colors, white and red. And she was struggling, having kind of heat exhaustion going. her brain was in etch-a-sketch mode. And as we wandered around this town trying to find a 7-Eleven with AC or any place like that, we had to walk like 2 miles. We finally found one. We got her inside, we got her cooled off, got her hydrated up, and all of a sudden she went from very having a bad time to happy, to good, and just having a great time. So if you're in a group of people figuring out what essential needs have to happen, I think that is very important, and we have the opportunity to do that with people. I'm getting a little low on time, I'm just having fun rambling. So I'm going to go through these a little bit more quickly. If you're on a vacation and you get a chance to go to a beach with shade, do it. It's amazing. Never had that opportunity before, and we were able to snorkel and splash around and swim in shade, which was just made all the difference for us. Got into some really cool temple complexes with a similar facade over something else. So this is a modern complex. I think this one was built like 150 years ago, starting with, and it's been added on to up to now. But the styles have stayed the same, or similar styles. But this is a lot more gaudy, and maybe the old temples were this gaudy originally. We don't really know. They weren't made by gaudy at all. Alright. And then to close this off, we got the chance to be in Bangkok, Thailand for Chinese New Year. And this was a sea of people, a sea of creativity, and a sea of flavors as we tried out probably 100 different street foods between all of us. Highly recommend it, and just seeing the artistry and the culture was wonderful. Overall, I encourage you to travel. It's good to be home, and that was 3 weeks of fun tasting of the world.
John, thank you so much.